Mute.
Okay. Very good. Welcome, everyone, to Fun Friday here with the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. I am John Lavenia, and I'm glad to be here with you. It's the first Friday of the month, hence the business attire. Good to see you, Linda, Ingrid, Julia. And here comes Suzanne from Switzerland. So glad to be here with everyone. It's been an interesting week, a glorious week. Lots of great stuff going on. And since it is Fun Friday, I thought maybe we'd open it up. We got an intimate crowd here today with our live attendees, but any jokes or dogs or cats or anything you'd like to come out and bring, I am all ears. And I know Gail's not here yet. Usually she's got a joke for us. Anybody got something lighthearted you'd like to share with us while we as we get started? I don't see any hands up. I don't see anybody unmuted. That's okay. I've got some lighthearted stuff. Oh, here comes Ingrid. Hey, Ingrid.
Well, I had fun. I got a call today from some upper management corporate people in my business saying that I had won some award, which I didn't even know I was gunning for. And could I please make a thank you video ASAP? So that was fun. I just made something in my car. Luckily, I had the correct colored jacket on because I'm on my way to an event. And that was a great way to wake up.
Wow. Fantastic. And were there any animals in the video?
No, there was just me. I was the animal.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because usually I know we can count on you for a dog or goose or horse or something,
Yeah,
very good. Video. Okay. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you. Congratulations. So for those who don't know, Ingrid has advanced in her business spectacularly and continues to do so. And I think Ingrid's awesome. So well done, Ingrid. Congratulations. It's nice to be recognized as well. How about you, Julia? You got something to share with us today?
Yeah, I don't have a joke, but as long as Ingrid is on a happy note of success, I went on a trip and took puzzles with me, and we now have 17 stores in 4 states carrying our puzzles. So, yeah, the response was really good. If I'd had more puzzles, I could have sold more. So I need a bigger vehicle.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, you're scaling up, and obviously there's a bit of legwork with that. It's interesting you bring that up too, Julia, because I remember studying some of the authors that I've read, and I remember, was it Wayne Dyer, the late Wayne Dyer? Any of you read him? When he was getting started with his first book that he was looking to get on a bestseller list, and hardly anybody knew who he was. It was Your Erroneous Zones. Anybody remember that? Your Erroneous Zones. And he talked about
that wrong.
Yeah, right. In fact, he said he would be driving around and with the books and going to various bookstores and radio stations and attempting to make himself known in the marketplace. It's kind of reminiscent of or made me think of that when Julia was talking about showing up physically, bodily with product and promoting to retailers. And one of the things that Wayne said was that a lot of times he would go and if he found his book in the bookstore, it would be in the pornography section or something because erogenous, right? So a lot of people just don't friggin' read. They just don't look at the words. So anyway, that was in fact, he made a joke about it. He said, I'm right there with these other books. I think The Pizza Man Always Delivers was one of them. I'm not sure. So there you go. But now, of course, a lot of people know who he is or was. So, all right, good to be here with everyone. I see a few more of our friends have tuned in, keeping with the lightness of Fun Friday, and especially considering all the other stuff that we could focus on that's happening on the planet right now. I wanted to offer you some wins, right? We're talking about wins here today. And so Julia just shared one, Ingrid just shared one. It's nice to be recognized. It's nice to have something that not only that we can recognize for ourselves. And we talked about this, was it yesterday when I filled in for Mark, or was it Wednesday when I filled in for Glenn? We talked about acknowledging and praising and validating that which we see is working in our life. And I was just listening to an audio program from a couple decades ago from a trainer. It's actually a prosperity trainer, mindset trainer, kind of a guy on tape. And he was talking about there is no lack except the lack of appropriation. And I was thinking about that as it relates to, how I'm using my resources, including and especially my own power of thought. Okay. How is it that there could be no lack, but just a lack of appropriation? So if we're with the idea that the universe or infinite substance provides all, and that as it was written in the Bible, is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom, right? So if we're with that idea, then what stops the flow? What could stop the flow? Well, I've been told that we've been given dominion. And, we've got the birds of the air and the fish of the sea and all that. And that, we have consciousness and we've been given dominion. We've got this power of choice. And so with that is sort of a blessing and a curse, right? It's a double-edged sword. I can raise myself to great heights. I can destroy myself, but infinite source is infinite source. I don't believe that there's some emotional or capricious God or whatever that, that has preference, whether or not, I'm, using the law for myself or against myself, because the law is going to work regardless. So it's just law. It just is, right? Gravity doesn't have an opinion about you walking around on the planet, right? It's just doing the gravity thing. So if you're with that idea that law always works and that it's impersonal, then the only lack, what this guy was saying, is a lack of appropriation. In other words, my failure to appropriate that which is being offered to me on every hand, at every turn, constantly, all day, every day, if I'm willing to look. And so here's the idea. I have so much attention. We've talked about this, and that can be diverted. That can be put into things that would appropriate for me, things that perhaps I don't want, not pleasing things and circumstances. Here's what I can't do. Here's what I think I can't have. I can't, right? So there's that affirmation. Or, right, and I can't do both at the same time. Or there's what I would call right thinking and right living, where I'm knowing the law and attempting to work with it. And in some cases, this is not even something I have to think about if I get into a habit of doing this. And here's an example that came up for me. Have any of you experienced what we could call telepathy? I know this sounds pretty far afield of, the stuff we normally talk about, or mystical or whatever, but is there anyone here who hasn't experienced thinking about someone? You've got this thought and you're wondering about that person, or you've got some topic that you're thinking about that also relates to that person. And then the phone rings and there they are, just like that. How does that happen? I don't know. I don't know how that happens. And I suppose we could get into quantum field theory and, talk to people about, physics and how truly, all the stuff that we're working with is actually not stuff, right? There's more space than there is particles in the stuff, right? You can use all kinds of scientific, I don't know all the terminology for it, but you can actually see inside the pores of the rock, right? Here's a rock that looks like solid stuff, right? But there's actually more space in between the particles than there are particles itself, right? It just happens to be, a denser thing than air. So if we think about that, if we think about that and how our thought moves through space, how anything, physical object, I could take this book and throw it through space. Okay. That's just, a bigger example of what we're doing, I think, with thought, is we're moving the non-stuff through the space. Can that connect? Can that connect with things that we don't physically see, or we didn't use the telephone per se, or some other machinery to communicate, but did we communicate nonetheless? Yes, we did. we communicated nonetheless. And I don't have the accounting to quantify, here's how you do it, and here's why it works. I don't know. Okay. There are people who have theories about this, but haven't we all experienced that sort of thing? That sort of telepathic, look, I've got a couple of dogs and I don't have to talk to them as much as all I have to do is have an intent. All I do is intend that this is what we're going to do. Like they know when it's time for a TREAT or a WALK, they know. Okay. Now we could say some of that is instinct and they just happen to know, their master and, how I operate and how I behave, but it's not like I put on a show or anything. It's not like I did some dance or something and then they had to, that was the communication. The communication existed before the action. So a lack of appropriation, what does it come down to for me? And this is the thing that I think we've got to keep in mind, is that before you speak, what's the saying? Before you speak, I hear you. Okay. So what are we doing in terms of our own discipline with how we choose, what thoughts we choose to entertain? Because that is what makes our appropriation. And then get up and do the work, of course, right? The universe didn't walk the dog. Okay. I walked the dog. Okay. But the thought preceded the deed, and it was so certain, right, that the communication happened and there was no faltering in that. And it was not, oh, I hope this works, or I'll try, or maybe it could work for other people, but not for me. And all the BS that we run on ourselves when we look at things that seem to be more substantial than walking the dog. Okay. Here is me succeeding in business. Here is Julia having her puzzles in the hands of 17,000 retailers, or 1,700, right? Right now it's 17. Was that the number? 17, right? So okay, well, how do we appropriate that? There's the question. How do we appropriate that? How does Ingrid get recognition on a monthly, on a quarterly basis, or however long they do the recognition, with that project that she's in, right? How do we have her consistently be, how does she have herself consistently be recognized as this person who is doing something of note? I say we appropriate that, but we do it in advance, before the demonstration, before the fruit is on the tree, right? We've already done the work, the so-called work, right? Which is all right here. Because that communication just doesn't stay right here. That impulsive thought, that intention doesn't just stay right here. And that's the trap. That's the trap right there. So if I'm not putting out thoughts of expectancy, plenty, abundance, prosperity, right? If I'm not putting that out, in other words, if I'm allowing myself to dwell on, here's what's wrong, here's what I can't have, here's what's not working, here's what's not done yet. If that is what I'm allowing to dominate my thinking, well, that doesn't stay here either, right? I could put up walls all around and keep this great good out, that, it's the good pleasure to give me the kingdom. Well, you know what? I'm not quite ready to appropriate the kingdom, because I think I got to go do all this other stuff. I think I've got to encumber myself with all of these worldly things that I may or may not be able to do anything about. You know what? In fact, I can't do anything about. Therefore, I'm a victim. Okay. If that's the game you want to run. Remember, we have power of choice. I didn't say this was easy, by the way. This is thinking. This is the hardest work there is. Okay. And keeping ourselves, as many saints and sages have advised, right? Keeping ourselves in a state of constant intent, or constant prayer, constant praise, right? Thinking on that which is a good report, and only on that. In other words, developing a deliberate ignorance. So a little play on words there, not ignorance, but ignorance, deliberately ignoring that which does not serve you or others. And what do we know about things that we ignore? Well, they go away. If I ignored my spouse, right, we would be more close or more distant, right? So, but you might say, well, yeah, but you got to face the facts, right? There's limitations to everything. There's problems in the world, and yeah, there really are, things that you can't do. And okay, I'm not like getting on some new age trip and telling you there are no problems, rainbows and unicorns. No, you guys all know that's not I would never offer you that. You can go down that road if you want. We work with what is, not with what should be. But we do so from a position of expectancy and knowingness, right? That yes, something can be done about it, and not engrossed in it, not so damn emotionally attached, having a little bit of distance from the worldly stuff so that I can be more objective about it and remain in present time and not project all my thoughts about the future and problems and everything else, but to remain in some sort of a position of causation, to not just go to the effect of everything else, okay, but to be cause over everything else to the best of my ability. And isn't this the one, I mean, the one thing that Ralph Emerson called the law of laws, cause and effect, right? Everything else we talk about, every topic, and now we're talking about the use of thought and appropriation and all this stuff, all of it comes back to that one thing, which is you being cause and not being the effect. And there's times to be the effect. If you were cause and only cause, then I guess you could be, having dominion over the universe, in fact, creating universes. And you know what? I'm not conscious at that level, not yet. Anyway, so I'll keep working on that. Okay, but right now, in this little micro universe that I get to play around in, right? How deliberate am I being in my own use of thought, and this power and ability to appropriate that which I don't think I had anything to do with? Where's the money? Wherever it is at the moment. Shall I appropriate some of it? Sure. Well, how much would you like? And there's where the limitations come in. I can only do so much. I had this conversation with you all yesterday. What was yesterday's topic? I called it September 2nd resolution or something, right? Because I don't care what the calendar says. I discovered, or I was reminded that there's bigger games that I could play. There's ways to get leverage. There's ways to express myself in higher ways, more leveraged ways that could provide more benefit. Here's the consideration: how could I provide more benefit in less time to more people? In other words, are the decisions that I'm making right now providing the greatest good for the greatest number of people in the least amount of time? Because really what we're talking about, if we have any thoughts of causation or entrepreneurialism about this, is that I am here to do what? I am here to serve. I am here to provide benefits. I'm here to exchange, right? And exchange more abundantly, and therefore be rewarded more abundantly. Those who outflow shall inflow, not only in terms of thought, right? So I outflow thoughts of expectancy, good, plenty, prosperity. I inflow the equivalent of those things from the ethers, from the no thing, right? From infinite possibility. Same thing here on a more gross physical plane. I provide this product. Here's the widget, right? And if I could do that more readily and in a leveraged fashion at greater orders of magnitude, well, here come the recompense from multiple sources at an ever increasing. There's an affirmation for you. My income comes through multiple sources on an ever increasing basis. I don't know, figure out some words that you like with that. Okay. That would be, I think, a worthy thing to state internally, as well as write it down on your goal card, or put a reminder on your computer monitor or something, right? Do we have reminders? Because look, the whole physical thing that we're doing here is very seductive, right? Look at me, look at me, look at me. This is real. This over here, this is real. This stuff right here, that's real. These problems, real. Okay, well, what's above all of that? Hopefully thought, right? Well, not hopefully, yes, it is, but hopefully we're being deliberate in our use of it, right? Since it is above all that. And look, when we have enough people with right thinking, right living, ethics, integrity, right? Morals, all of that stuff. When we have enough people doing that, society changes. I'll tell you right now, just to digress for a moment, we got a lot of wacky stuff going on in society and governments and other criminal organizations and all of that. Okay, what happens when the consciousness of the group exceeds that of these things that seem to be oppressive or suppressive, what happens? Transformation happens, right? You can't, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when enough people are awake and, an entire transformation occurs. Look at Christianity. Okay. There's one of the most profound examples that I can think of in semi-modern history, right? Here's this group of people who got these ideas and a demonstration of right living and how to be with your fellow man and all this. And now it's one of the biggest religions in the world, right? Based on what? Based on a group of people with here's a doctrine, right? Here's some things that you could think and do and live. You can go live this stuff. And now because of that elevated level of consciousness and intent, right? And in terms of Christianity, Jesus didn't do it alone, right? Here's 12 guys, one of them fell off the wagon, right? And now there's more than 12 guys, and now there's thousands, now there's millions, right? So, and if you're in line with these principles, whether you identify as a Christian or not, here are resourceful ways of thinking and living, and of treating your fellow man and all that, right? Okay, is that better or worse than barbarism, savagery? I'd say better. Okay, if we're going to cast evaluations and judgments here, okay, let me do so. Yeah, I'd say that's better. I'd say that's better than running around with an axe and scalping people and what have you. Arguably better. Okay, that's my argument anyway. And lots of other people agree. And so because of that, we get to have what? Well, I live in the United States, or what's left of it, and we get to have a moral society, and the rule of law and things that make society workable, so that we can more readily appropriate that which we intend. And look, if you didn't have the desire, you wouldn't also have the means for its fulfillment. We look at the things, I'll lean on Julia here for just a minute, because I love Julia, she's awesome. But like puzzles, okay, this is something that didn't exist in an unworkable society or in a barbaric. All right, so picture, if you will, I don't know, the Dark Ages or something, or prehistoric times or whatever. And were they like looking for their Toozle puzzles and where's the retailer? No, that was not even on the radar. Okay, right. So that might sound ridiculous, but keep in mind the fact that people now have a desire to do fun games and diversions, and in this case educational and everything else, making puzzles, right, is because we've got the luxury to do so, because we're not fighting saber-toothed cats, or the warring tribe is coming in to behead everyone, right? So I think that's called progress, right? So now I can appropriate puzzles. In fact, I have appropriated puzzles because Julie is awesome and I've got her puzzles. So I still haven't completed one of them. Oh my goodness, they are like intense. Like, you guys are into puzzles, Toozle puzzles. Yeah, like no joke. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. In fact, there's a picture of me, I think, giving the thumbs up with a Toozle puzzle. So endorsed by John Lavenia. Anyway, this is where my mind's going today, because I got these reminders. That I have right now in present time, I've got the ability to choose my own thoughts. And if I had dominion over nothing else, in the face of whatever, you can go ahead and read Viktor Frankl, right? Man's Search for Meaning, right? Here was this guy talking about how as a captive in, the Nazi concentration camps, the one thing they couldn't take was his ability to think, right? His ability to use that most precious power that you definitely have dominion over. And so, and then, everything, history played out, and, he got to write books about it and teach others. So the point is then, are you for advancement? Are you for consciousness and ethics and integrity in the world? Start with you. It's one thing for me to say you should, be moral, have ethics, show up when you say you're going to show up, do the right thing. It's one thing for me to admonish you for that. But I think it's an entirely more powerful and valuable thing in terms of, actually leveraging intention into, the world of others, right? I'm not alone here, to actually demonstrate it. to just demonstrate it. I think that's more powerful. I can go read books, or I can go sit and get a lecture from some authority for whatever it's worth. Or I could see the example. That's how that person's living. And look what's coming to them. And then I can accept that, or I can reject that. And I think right now, especially right now, the more you demonstrate, you as individual, right? You demonstrate prosperity, success, intent, appropriation, unapologetically. The more you do that with the mind of what's the most good for all involved, right? Again, this isn't a selfish thing. You can't do any of this alone, all right? Everything comes through other people, and you get to deal with the physical universe just like I do, okay? Which is great, because that's where your opportunity is. It's not floating out in space, okay? It's right here. So the more you demonstrate that and appropriate that which is yours, and that which it's the good pleasure to give you the kingdom, the more you get to be the example for others who are wondering right now, what's the use? What's the use, right? I saw on the news, the sky is falling, everything's going to shit. What can I do about it? Oh, but then I met Edward. And man, this guy's life is working. Well, tell me more about that, Edward, right? Oh yeah, you got an opportunity for me, right? Or hey, what books are you reading right now? And then you become what? You become part of the solution. You become a mentor, which I think all of you have recognized to a greater or lesser degree at some point, and maybe right now you could recognize you have been a mentor, right? You don't just receive instruction. You don't just, you're not just the effect of whatever the author in the book that you're reading said, right? You're also cause, right? You're demonstrating to others, whether you know it or not, you're demonstrating to others how to live and how to appropriate more of what you want and less of what you don't. To whatever degree you recognize that is upon you. But can you recognize that? How many parents do we have here? Have you been a mentor? You're right. How many people here have employees or subordinates in their business world, right? How do you deal with your vendors? Are you not mentoring them when you deal fairly with your vendors, customers, whoever, right? Every little demonstration counts. Every little thing, because it's not about the thing itself. It's about who's doing it. Who's doing it. And that's where you've got dominion. You get to choose who's showing up. So we've gone full circle. We're right back to, all right, here's infinite supply. Here it is everywhere. And here's me. And I get to make a choice. And it's not always easy. Who's showing up? The on-purpose person, the person with fixity of intent and decisiveness, or the person who's going to be moved here and there at the whim of others who may not have my ethics? Great question. And let's see what we attract. Oh, I can't believe it. What an amazing coincidence. The phone rang and the guy bought everything. Okay. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. I love you guys. Thank you for being here with me. Who else has some thoughts on this idea of deliberate appropriation of that which is very pleasantly being offered you? Any thoughts on this? None. Okay, did I put everybody to sleep?
No. You didn't put me to sleep at all. That was a great viewpoint. I had a chance to listen to some information today that really coincided with what you're talking about today about deliberation and about appropriation and that sort of thing. A sage by the name of Jim Rohn was speaking, and what he said was, you have to make sure that you understand what you have your hands on. He said the number one thing you have to understand is that the golden calf is America, that you're in America. And number two, you got to make sure you understand that the prosperity scenario that we're all after is easy. But the reason that we don't do it is because of the neglect that we are all under. We all, succumb to the things that we should do or should not do. And we end up on the side of not doing and neglecting what it is that we should do. So basically, the ease of prosperity in America is neglected and is looked upon, because another sage told me that, America is set up where you can prosper all you want, but your brain tells you just to survive, just to be protected. So the standard is not to excel. The standard is to survive. So what we have to do is change the standard and walk in what we've already been bequeathed, because what God has done, he's bequeathed us to, prosper, to be dominant, to reign and rule in this world, like you said. And it's just making sure that we understand what we have our hands on. It's easy not to do, just like it's easy to do. But the mentality is you have to view it the way that it really is. And the way it really is that here it is for you. And sure, this may not work, go to the next thing. This may not work, go to the next thing. And you just continue to keep on going until you find something that clicks. And it's out there for you. You just got to make sure you're the one that's not giving up. And that's it, not giving up.
Beautiful, Edward. So glad you're here, my friend.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome stuff. And my tie matches your shirt. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah, baby. It's yellow day. All right. Anybody else? Any other thoughts on whatever this topic is? Good to see you all. We did have, just so you guys know, we did have, Virginia. Virginia, please come on out.
I always have something to say, whether it's UUI or anything. Edward, I like your comment. And I have found those of us who have been in the United States, and we're not new immigrants, we were born and raised here and everything, we have a different mentality than the people who are fresh off the boat, the airplane, whatever, coming over here. And they see this land of opportunity. And I see that they are willing to make sacrifices that we typical Americans are not very comfortable with. Like, everybody lives in the same house. They all hunker down. They live in the same house with multiple aunts and grandparents and stuff, and they do what they need to do to make it succeed. I grew up in Miami with a wave of the initial Cuban refugees that came over when Castro took over in 1958, 59 in there. And this was an opportunity for them. I mean, those people came here, had their kids if they didn't already have kids. And I went to those kids' weddings 20 years later at the most famous and posh hotels in Miami, because they came over and they worked hard, and they built and they sacrificed and they achieved. And I feel like a lot of us Americans are comfortable with being here and the freedoms that we already have. And maybe we don't look at it as much of an opportunity. And we don't do all those sacrifices that people from foreign countries and less developed countries are willing to do on there. So I see them excel because of what they perceive as, a diamond. And we're just looking at it as, a chunk of coal we have to compress or something. I have seen that over the years, so anyway, but we can get excited. What's the next book for book study, John?
Okay. Well, thank you, Virginia. So I was going to make two announcements, and that's one of them. So one announcement is for those of you who were asleep at the time, at 4:00 in the morning for me, noon in England, we had Ego Obi out this morning with practical entrepreneurial tips. I'm going to be posting that recording here today. And then, of course, you can catch the replay. And then, excuse me, we do have at 6 p.m. Eastern U.S. time today, we do have Be Heard. So if you want to be heard, you got some ideas, I'd love to hear them. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. That brings us to the second announcement, which is our next book. We are this week on our book study group, we are completing Working with the Law, by Raymond Halliwell, the final 4 chapters. Okay, so dig in on that. Our next book shall be Wake Up and Live by Dorothea Brand. Wake Up and Live. And I've got a free copy for you all because it's out of copyright, which I will post in the members site. Okay. So PDF, so we can all go through it on PDF. Amazing book. So 1936, same year as, Think and Grow Rich, that same, towards the tail end of the Great Depression. This book came out. She changed her whole life, her business, everything with one line, one idea. But oh my goodness, the first 4 chapters alone, get ready for Dorothea Brand. If you've never read Wake Up and Live, buckle your seatbelt. So yes, Virginia.
Is that one of the 5 books that you recommended when we first joined Blue Sky?
No way.
Wasn't there something from Dorothea Brand that we already
No.
did?
No.
Not in book study, but somewhere else?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this is hardcore. So yeah, this is a bit of, takes a bit of confront, right? You've got to really be able to look at yourself when you read this book. So I don't start newbies off with this. No. So anyway.
2 more
Good
things.
times.
2
Yes,
more things.
Virginia.
You look wonderful. I forgot we were supposed to dress up, and so does Mandy on the first Friday of the month.
You know what? I forgot last month, and so I wanted to double down here and show
Yeah,
you
you
all.
guys are all dressed up.
well,
That
thank
was
you.
excellent. So you're just seeing this up because I'm still in my pajamas. Number one. The second thing is when you talked about thinking of someone and then the phone rings and it's them, Bob Proctor addresses that very exact example in the Law of Attraction video that he was a guest on, about putting that out there, thinking about someone you maybe have not talked to them in a long time, heard from them, and the next thing you know, your paths will somehow cross on that. So Law of Attraction, I do remember Bob Proctor specifically commenting on that.
Sure.
And those are all of my 2 cents for today. I'll be quiet now.
Well, thank you, Virginia, for your 2 cents. They were worth more than that, I think. Good times. And yes, Mandy, you do look amazing, and so does your cat. So, okay, any other thoughts today? Any other thoughts? All right, we're going to be back here at 6 p.m. Julia, yes, and Julia and Mandy. Julia, come on out.
Yeah, I just, speaking of Virginia here, I just wanted to mention, I imagine she mentioned it before, but when I was in Denver, Joe and I had the opportunity to meet Virginia in the flesh, and it was a lot of fun. And I encourage any of you who are within the range of any of the rest of us, get together, because it just makes it even better.
Thank you, Julia. And of course, we are getting together in October in Nevada. So anyone who's vague on that, you need to get unvague, because we're now just over a month out. Okay. So yeah, anyone who can be in Nevada in October, please. Mandy. Hey, Mandy.
Hi, John. Sorry, my cat is trying to take the show here.
Oh,
I was just going to say that, well, I'll just start on what you just said. Yes, I've had that lots of times when you've actually thought about somebody and the next thing is they phone, and I've got to the point I'm not surprised anymore because it keeps happening. It's like, I was thinking about you. But I was also going to say we're starting Books for Britain again next Wednesday. I think everybody's the only person in the UK here, but in case anybody watches later, but we're starting at 8 o'clock and we're going to do your book because we didn't do your book.
Oh,
so we're starting with yours. So that'll be
that sounds fun. I have my schedule doesn't work at that time, but if I can break away and make a cameo appearance, yeah, maybe the author will pop in.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, it's probably better that I'm not there because we did the whole book study group with me.
Yeah.
And so I gave you, my thoughts on my thoughts, and there's the thoughts, right? But but we're gonna see what you guys think about that. Thank you, and welcome back, Mandy. It's so good.
Thanks for your comments, Virginia. Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, last call.
Hey, John. I just had a thought. These books we're reading, they're so rich and so full and packed of wisdom and application and, just transformation, you know? And it makes you realize why for centuries, you know, there were laws to keep people from reading.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There were laws to say, look, we can't let these people read and get this information, because if we do, boy, what's going to happen? You know? And it's just so piercing to think that what could be if information was allowed. You know, it's amazing. I
Yeah.
just had that thought. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting in it. It's
Yeah.
the United States is one example of that. That was born of, post the Age of Enlightenment, right? And here are a bunch of guys, saying, you know what, based on morals and ethics and the rule of law, let's go ahead and create a self-governing society. And here we are, right? So yeah, without an education, without good, data, good, information, and a moral foundation. So I look at it as that, like you've got a working society if you can have a certain level of IQ, right, intelligence, and a moral structure. In other words, mores which are sufficient for people to be civilized. And it's never happened before in history that I know of. Precious. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Edward. And I'm a bit patriotic. In fact, I'm very patriotic. And that's not a slight to any other, countries or customs and whatever. I feel very fortunate for having the opportunity to know these things and to read the books and to do something like what Virginia was talking about. Do something here in this opportunity. Anyway, thank you, Edward. Let's wrap up. Are we good? We good to go? I'll be back here at 6 p.m. Eastern US time. And again, if you need any more information on our get-together, our regional get-together in Nevada in October, get on our Facebook group, or of course, just send me a text or email or something, and we'll make sure that you're enlightened on that. We got 2 weeks left for anyone who's looking to get in on the firearms training. Okay, 2 weeks left to secure your spot with that, and then they're closing the door. All right. So I will see you guys